What's up, guys? This is Thomas McIntosh from Macintosh Trading, and today I'm bringing you guys a scalping video. I'm just going to kind of go over some setups from today and just kind of some stuff that I look for. We're going to go over fake volume, real volume, market themes, reasons for stocks to be moving, and just a bunch of stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy. Alright guys, so for today's video, we're just going to be going over three charts here I have set up. We're going to be going over AHPI, DLPN, EVK, and I'm just going to go over kind of some examples of how you could have scalped this. I'm going to go over some things that I did to scalp this personally. I'm not going to like show my trades, but I will show kind of where I traded them, and some of them can last minutes, some of them can last seconds. It just kind of depends. I think this video will be super helpful when the markets are a little slower and we can't obviously day trade stuff as much and swing trade as much. Obviously this is a type of day trading, but this can be super quick, like seconds, minutes. It can just go by super quick. So we're just going to hop right into it. AHPI today. I have a lot of information that I want to get through, so I'm not sure exactly how long this video will be. But there's going to be a lot, so I mean, honestly, if you want to take notes, I would take notes because there's going to be just kind of a lot that I go over. And it might be a little scrambled, but it's all in my head. I just need to kind of express it onto this video. Anyways, so we're going to get into it. AHPI. So today we had a halt up here right at open. It went from $7.64 all the way to $8.83. After the halt, it actually opened up at $9.25. That's crazy. So right off the bat, I obviously knew this would have some strength today. It halted up on about 700,000 volume. That's not a crazy amount for the first 5-minute candle, but I think it happened in like the first couple minutes, so it's a pretty good amount of volume. Nothing in pre-market really said that that's what was going to happen. This is one thing I also want to get into, and like I said, this video is just going to be completely scrambled, but market themes come into play, and those can be a reason that a stock is moving. So like, although this didn't have like a reason to be up based on just this intraday pre-market chart, if you go back at the daily, you can clearly see here lately, let me just refresh this. Lately, this has just had some strength. It had a spike to 1154. It had some consolidation, another spike. We see some more consolidation, another spike, another spike. And this is off no specific news exactly, but this is like the market taking a theme like COVID and being a reason for this to run. We see the same thing with APT. This obviously has no specific news besides like COVID headlines and just getting pumped off, stuff like that. So that's the reason that this stock was moving and getting volume. As you can see, Friday it had 109 million volume, and then today it had 33 million. So that's the reason that volume was coming in, and that's the reason that this had strength today. So right off the bat, I actually tried to trade this one after the halt. Right here, it started kind of consolidating here, and I thought that this was a flag. So I actually traded it. I tried to trade it here on the break. As you can see right here, the high, and I'll show you guys where the high is. I just tried to point to it, but obviously you can't see that. The high is 945. It shows up right in this corner where my mouse is. So as you can see, it'll show the high on this candle was 945. The high on this candle was 940, and then the high on this candle again was 945. So I actually tried to play this breakout here on this candle. On the 1 minute, I believe it was set up a little perfectly. I hate that I have to refresh it every time. So if we go back here, it's a little bit of a flag. It dipped under the view app a little bit, but I still consider this a nice bull flag. And of course, it just didn't break out. It tested 950, the breakout zone right here, and it just failed instantly. So I actually stopped out right around here before it continued to dip. So that is one example of like a failed scalp. And obviously you're going to have fails, you're going to have wins, you're going to have losses. It's just kind of the nature of the game. But I took the risk here at 950. I bought this break and it just didn't work. And the reason that this is a resistance point is you guys can clearly see. So here it made a high at 950. Ideally, it would break above that line. But right here, it also tried again and then hit 945. Couldn't break. And it honestly, some stocks will just break out right away. So like it had this pullback here on the 1 minute chart, and then it tried to break 950 again, but it didn't. Sometimes a stock will just break out right there, and boom, you can buy that break. In this case, it consolidated for the next 10 minutes or so, and then tried to break it again, which is what you like to see. You like to see consolidation. and it tried to break again. It didn't break, so obviously I failed on that scalp, but that doesn't mean that this play is over, because we had that strength from today, so we know that this is going to be still a play to watch the rest of the day. So I actually took my eyes off of it for a little bit. I focused on the other things, and I just waited for the scanner to pick it back up, or I waited for like some reason for this to come back up. And it actually came back up right here. As you can see, it hit almost $9. And that's another point I want to bring up, is psychological levels will be like support and resistances as well. So as you can see, like the VWAP was obviously 9, or I guess 8.99. So it touched the VWAP, which is another indicator that I use to show like resistance or support. But those psychological numbers like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all of those will be a setup for a move higher, no matter what like the support or resistance is. It's just those numbers are what people think of when, like, if something breaks over 12, oh, it's going to go higher, you know? So here it tested that. It didn't quite break it. It just came back down here, consolidated. And this is where I picked it up. I'm going to switch back to the 5-minute. So that's where it tested it, right there on the 1 minute. And then you come back later in the day. Okay, my chart is all messed up. All right, that looks a little better actually. So here's on the 1 minute where it tested that VWAP again, and then it just kind of consolidated. It never broke it. So as you can see here, it clearly broke it and went above that 9 and tested 908, which is not exactly an important level, but it broke the VWAP, so that's kind of a good key that it broke that $9 level, indicating, oh hey, this might be something worth watching or something worth entering here. So it did actually come back down to 880, and this is just going to lead into another point that I have. Lower floats, you just have to be careful, because one buy or one sell could move it 10, 20, 30 cents depending on the float. And as you guys can see, this stock has a 3 million float, so it's just going to be able to move a lot easier. I mean, sometimes one buy could literally move it 20, 30 cents at this price. So after we see this VWAP break, we see some consolidation here, which is what I like. It's above the VWAP, it's consolidating. We have this clear resistance here at 945. So as soon as that triggers, if this ever starts to test like 945, I would just instantly look to buy, and I believe that's what I did. I think in my account I had it right here. I bought 920, 930, and then obviously it didn't break right away, which can sometimes be concerning, but if you know like the stock is showing that momentum, a lot of times you're in a safer position. If there's a reason for the stock to be moving, I almost always will give it more time. If it's just like a pump and dump, or like something that's just a low float moving, or it doesn't really have a reason to be moving, I would be much more careful with buying breakouts, just because why would buyers push it higher if there's no reason for them to? So here on HPI, we see the 945 resistance here, 945 resistance there, and then as soon as that breaks, boom, right here we have this big giant volume candle. So it broke 945 instantly, broke 950, and it completely just boomed right up to 1080, and that would be a perfect scalp. If you could get in right here, 935, 945, around there, you could have rode it up to here, 1080, and it happened in one single candle, so you're instantly in the money. You didn't lose anything. You didn't really risk a whole lot, because this happened in probably a minute or two. Like, that's just a minute or two scalp for, what is that? It's almost 10%. Yeah, it's more than 10% actually. How many times can you, like, how much time do you wait to get 10 to 20% from like a swing trade, or how much time do you like wait on a day trade that you're adding dips on? Like, I don't know. Scalping can just be super easy, especially on these low floats, when just buying these key break zones and then just making money instantly. That's what I like about it, is just like snap, you make money instantly. So again, here we have some consolidation after this massive breakout here. And as you can see, after the breakout, it actually dipped instantly, which that for me is like an indicator of weakness for the rest of the day. I don't like to see it dip like right away after this big move, like middle of the day. Like this was before noon, but it was about middle of the day. And for me personally, I just don't like to see something like dip right away back here to under VWAP 920. It hit. That just shows me weakness, that this is like, it doesn't really have a reason to be moving. Like, it's just moving just because volume came in randomly, and I don't think it's going to last the rest of the day. Now, obviously, this did come back a little bit. These didn't really provide any scalping opportunities. We had like some resistance, but the main resistance point would be just this 1080. And then if you went on the daily, you could see it had resistance at like 1154 from not too long ago. And I just want to make another point. Use the 5 minute, use the hour, use the 4 hour, use the daily, use the weekly, use the monthly, use all those charts. If you use these, they will help you. As you can see here on the daily, we had some resistance here at 1019, 1025, so about the same point. As soon as that point breaks, that's just another reason for you to buy, because that's multi-week resistance here from this happened last week, I believe, and then this happened obviously last week Friday as well. So once those resistance points break, it just provides an easier it just attracts buyers essentially. So like, you're not the only person buying, it's a bunch of other people buying, and that's the reason they're buying, is because they think it's going to go up because it just broke that key resistance point. You're not the only one. And if you're selling into their buying, then you're at an advantage. You're not chasing, you're not whatever. I think a lot of people think like, oh, I'm buying a breakout, I'm chasing. You're really not. The people chasing are the ones buying after it's broken out. So if you're selling into their chase, then they're the ones getting screwed and you're making money. Next up, I'm just going to go over DLPN. I did trade this a little bit into close. I didn't exactly trust this one. This is just your common pump and dump stock. This has always been a pump and dump. You can go back on the weekly and just see it's been nonstop down. I'll refresh this just so you guys can see. It had a little bit of pump. It looks like an uplist maybe. Like this weekly just has no volume. Like this week had 228 volume. I'm wondering if this is literally an uplist from like at the OTC market. But you guys can see here, pump and dump. Anytime it had volume, it always like dumped by the next day or the next week. So in general, this is just not a good company, as you can see. This spike right here is when NFTs went crazy. We all know what happened with companies that are just garbage. TCAT, they're a Chinese company. They went from $2 to $74 off of a Wall Street Bets pump, and there was no reason for it, but sometimes stuff like that happens in the market, so you have to be prepared either way. So today, I was a little skeptical on this one, obviously, because I knew that it was a pump and dump. And another thing I want you guys to know, I said I would be all over the place, and I know I am, but companies that run like more than they should, it's always going to be harder for them to get back up. As you can see, MRI in here, it ran from $1.50 to $27 on news that was just total garbage. I think they're still overvalued at $7. From here on out, it's going to be so hard for them to run because every single pop is just going to get shorted down. You can think it's heading higher, but there's just not a chance it's headed. There's just not a chance that it's headed higher. As you can see here, it had a pop, instantly shorted down. Had a pop, instantly shorted down, and it's the same thing. There's a couple other stocks. I'm trying to think of the other one, SGOC. So SGOC, they had a run from $3 to $29, no news at all, just a complete low float pump. And ever since that pump, it's always had, like, obviously this had a dead cat bounce, instantly dropped, dead cat bounce, instantly drop. It had some pops here, dip, pop, dip, pop, dip. Every pop now from this one, like for the next year, it's never going to be able to run. Like, even if this did end up having like really great news, the actual value of this is way down here. So this $8 price tag means nothing. I mean, there's just no reason for people to be holding up here. So like, even if this does have great news, it may pop, but it's just going to come right back down. And that's the same thing with DLPN. So like, obviously I didn't trust it, and sure, I missed out on money, but I also could have screwed myself by buying this and then it dumping on me. Anyways, we're going to get back to the scalping. I just kind of want to go over a few things for you guys. So here, this is just a solid uptrend all day. And these are two of my favorite indicators. I use the 8 EMA and the 10 EMA on the 5 minute. It's bullish usually if it stays above, and then if it dips under, it's usually not. It'll usually stay above that line, and if it does bounce under or on, it usually bounces right back up. if the stock is showing strength, and if it dips under, it's usually pretty bearish. So like you might want to rethink why you're in that position, or go a different route. And I use the super trend as well, but we'll get into that later. So here we have DLPN, and they actually had some news today. They're partnering with Hall of Fame Village, HOFV, and an analyst came out and gave them a $20 price target, I believe. It might have been a little bit more, 28 or something like that. So that kind of gave this a little bit of momentum here. And when they broke out here, they did dip a little bit. But this point right here would be resistance, 1084. And then I would just honestly round that up to $11 just to make the psychological number. So obviously if like 11 tests, I would say, okay, this is headed higher. And obviously it broke that, but it couldn't really hold it. So then it dipped again. And these type of sketchy plays are just ones that I avoid usually. But I will show you guys where I did play it and how I played it. So here you can see three tops. We see 1144, we see 1148, and then we see 1148 again. So I would obviously round up 1150. That's a psychological number. So once that point breaks, I would think, okay, this stock's headed higher. And again, it broke, and I actually don't think I played this break because it was just super weak. It popped to 1180 and then dipped, and then it finally broke right before the end of day. So I completely missed this run to 1269. But I did actually get in. I bought the dip here, right before close because I thought it might have a little bit more juice, and I actually ended up selling around 1260, 1270 right before close. So it wasn't too bad of a scalp. And I will go, here's why I did that. So this is about 5 to 10 minutes before the market closed. And obviously stocks are going to have more strength during that time. They have all their strength at open, obviously not this one, but AHPI, if we go back to that one, it had its strength right at open, and then not much by the end. But the point I'm trying to make is that stocks have strength at open and it closed the most. So if this is closing super well, generally the last couple candles are going to be super strong if the stock is showing strength. And this one was showing strength all day. So once it had this strength candle right at, 3:55 p.m., I was expecting it to have one more strength candle right before close and just absolutely rip before dipping here in after hours. So lastly, we're just going to talk about EVK super quick. I don't expect to go over this one super long. I feel like this video has been all over the place, and I've only gone over like a couple things, and there's so much I want to. So this probably will be part one, and I'll just continue to do some live trading for you guys eventually once we get all set up. And I will definitely do more videos and more examples of kind of what I look for and like reasons for a stock to be moving, because something you guys need to know is that a stock needs to have a reason for moving. Like if a low float is moving with no news, it's going to have a harder time to continue moving up. So like, sure, it may have a low float, it may have momentum for that time, but once that volume goes away, like who's buying it at that point? I mean, the only thing you have is sellers at that point, unless there's like a market theme for that stock or news or something or a reason for it to be moving. So EVK today, they actually had news. They're a super low float, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I missed this run again. And the reason is because they announced a $5 million share buyback program. Their float is 3.98 million. I think I did the math, and it's like they're buying back like 1.4 million shares, which lowers their float a little bit. I mean, it doesn't lower it enough to provide a super large move, in my opinion. And they ran on pretty low volume today. They ran 5,000 volume, 22,000, and then a big 200,000 volume spike here. So I was just a little iffy on this one. I didn't really trust it. It held up strength, but I thought an 80 to 100% move on a stock with a $5 million share buyback program was a bit much, because I've seen some stocks not react at all to news like that and just like stay stagnant. So I was a little interested that this actually ran today. But as you can see here, it dipped. It held this super trend. That's something you always want to see. Obviously, this candle would have possibly had you fooled that it was just going to dip, but then it actually just mooned the next candle. And something that is worth noting is this has a 4 million float, and they just had that news. But look at the volume coming in. 16 million, 3 million, 1 million, 2 million. These lasted into the market open, these big massive volume candles, and that's something you want to see, is volume that lasts into the open, because that indicates, okay, people are buying or someone's loading up here for this to move higher. Like as you can see over here, we come back to AHPI. The volume was okay, but it started to like drop off. This EVK volume was strong all through open, and then finally had a spike. Now I did actually miss these flags. I did actually catch this one here, a scalp in the morning. So it was consolidating here. It just kind of chilled. I was honestly surprised that it was just holding up. But I decided to take a chance here on this break. It broke 552, and then this candle right here, 560, 555. So this was my resistance point that I wanted it to break. It had tested it once, twice, almost tested it a third time. I just wanted to see that break one more time. So once it broke, it shot up to 622. I was all out. I made my money. Obviously, we're going to go back to those psychological numbers. So it broke 6, indicating it would go higher, and it did go a little higher. But something you'll learn as you go on is how to read like that strength and that volume, and just reading the time and sales over here. The tape is super important to read and super important to know, because you need to see those bids and asks, how they're moving and how many people are buying versus how many people are selling, and that's going to indicate when to sell and when to buy when you're scalping like this. So after that, it just kind of chilled. And like I said, I just didn't trust this news from the start, so I just never traded again. I just didn't trust it. Of course, here it touched the VWAP and then it broke out again to 6, but I just couldn't trust this news. And so once it hit this psychological resistance number of 6, it just decided to flush back down, because there was no reason for people to buy, because the news doesn't make sense for this stock to move, you know? So there was no reason for this stock to really be up this much, which is why it couldn't break out further than what it had already ran. Well, I feel like I just kind of was all over the place for you guys, but I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I hope that this can help you scalp and learn how to become a better trader, and just make money when stuff is slow. But we do get occasional breakouts, because this isn't something that you can just like, okay, buy down here and just anticipate a move up. This is something that you have to wait on and make sure, okay, this is having strength, this is going to test this breakout, and once it tested again, it broke out, and it had a reason for that move. The volume was coming in. It's a COVID play, so like that had been the theme on Friday, so obviously I would expect continuation on that theme into today. And that's exactly what happened. It had the halt up at open, which would indicate, okay, this is something to watch out for later. Even though it did pull back, that halt up gave me an idea that said, okay, this might actually come back later and run, which is why I played this breakout. So anyways, if you guys did enjoy this video, like I said, I'm going to be making more videos on scalping, and I hope to get one out maybe once or twice a week if I can, and just keep showing you guys what I do, what I look for, and how to indicate good news, how to indicate pumpers, how to indicate real volume versus fake volume, because it's just insane how many people, like, they just miss the mark. And that reminds me, actually, I just want to go over one last thing. IMTE today, this ran with DLPN and TCAT, and that's just piggybacking off what I said earlier about market themes. If you go back here and look at DLPN, it had strength, and TCAT is a part of this market theme, so they also had strength. IMTE is a part of it, a part of this strength, but this volume didn't really come until one specific person tweeted about it, and that's what brought this volume. And this chart is an instant no-no for me. Now, there is obviously chances to make money, but you're risking way too much with a chart like this, because this could instantly dump at any point. As you can see, this had just huge volume coming in, 200,000, 340,000, 600,000, 300,000, just huge volumes coming in, and it just wasn't really moving as much. With that volume, you should be seeing this stock, like, this should be running. Like, there's no reason that this stock should just be chilling here. And that is an example of fake volume. This is not real volume at all. This is someone pumping online saying, hey, you should buy this because it's a sympathy to TCAT, DLPN, whatever. And I'm not going to go over exactly who was posting about it, but when you see stuff like this, this is more than likely someone online pumping. And as you can see here, it tested 517. There was no real resistance breaks because it's just random. It's just random. Everything's random about this stock moving. It has no reason to move, so it doesn't flag. It doesn't do anything. It's just random buying coming in. And then finally here, it finally flushed. Shorts attacked it, and it even dumped right back to what it was before the pump even started. Anyways, now that I got that out of my system, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, like I said, and I will be posting more videos, hopefully some live trading, and I just hope that it can help you guys out, and I hope this video helped you out. If it did, just like the video, subscribe, share it around, make sure people see it, and I'll be bringing back some more to you guys, and yeah, see ya.